Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, world. Welcome once again to Tuesday Talk with Key West Lou. I am your host, Louis Patron. Well, another crazy week. I start that way every week. It's always been another crazy week. And the reason is we've had 3 years of Donald Trump. He controls the news. He determines what the news is going to be. I mean, he comes up with 18 million different things a day. I know it's an exaggeration, the number, but he comes up with a multitude of items, and they take over the news. And the media has not the opportunity, nor does it seem to be willing to bring other things up. The world moves on. There is more than Donald Trump in this world, okay? So as I do every week and as I do in my blog that I write every day, I try to speak of things also that are happening that have nothing to do with Mr. Trump. So let me tell you where we're going tonight. We'll be talking about some things that don't involve the president. We're going to go to Detroit, North Korea, China, Russia, Washington, D.C., California, Mississippi, Boston, Canada, and Florida. We have many corporate leaders today, and our corporate leaders, the corporate world, unfortunately, the leaders have changed over the years. There was a time, 50, 70 years ago, where the leaders of corporate America, sure, they wanted their companies to succeed, to survive, to make money for their stockholders, money to improve their particular positions in the world, money to help their product, whatever it was they were manufacturing. They were honorable men generally, okay? Not all of them, but they were generally honorable men. They had a sense of knowing what and being what an American was. They were not selfish people. They were not inclined to only be concerned with making the big dollar for themselves and their company and screw everything else, including the United States of America. So tonight, I'd like to start by bringing to your attention someone you may be aware of, have heard of, or maybe you haven't. His name is Lee Iacocca. Lee Iacocca was born on October 15, 1924 in Allentown, Pennsylvania. He was the son of Italian parents, Nicola and Antoinette, who had emigrated from the Benevento province of the Campania region in Italy. His entrepreneurial father ran several businesses from movie theaters to car rental agencies, building wealth for the family. Then the Great Depression struck, and Father Nicola lost everything in the 1929 stock market crash, the family's financial suffering making an indelible mark on young Lee. Iacocca graduated from Lehigh University in 1945, and with the nation ripe for post-war production, went to work in the auto industry. He used his innovative ideas to rise through the ranks of Ford. His greatest innovation stemming from an observation that for younger car buyers, a car had to be more than merely functional. It had to be a car you could drive to the country club on Friday night, to the drag strip on Saturday, and to church on Sunday. Iacocca so said. So he created the Mustang. Now, I remember the Mustang, okay? I was a young lawyer, had a family of 4 children and a wife. I could not buy the Mustang because I couldn't put all it was a little small convertible. There was no room to put the family in, and I had not yet made it, so to speak, as an attorney and could not afford 2 automobiles. So I had to buy a bigger car than a Mustang, but Mustang was the car. It was the exciting car. Young and old alike, middle-aged, everybody was buying Mustangs, driving around with the top down. My sister bought a Mustang. She's 10 years younger than me. I love her dearly. Whenever I wanted to borrow the Mustang just to take a ride in the country, she let me do it. It was a wonderful vehicle. Anyhow, he created the Mustang. He had the foresight to determine that we should have a car like that, a car that would appeal to all ages and could be used for every purpose, and it was a cheap car to buy. All right? Now, so he became president of Ford as a result of this, and as soon as he became president of Ford, I don't know why, but he was abruptly fired by Henry Ford II. He Had to have another job. They fired him. He made the Mustang. He created the Mustang. Made Ford a ton of money, and the Ford family fired him. Chrysler was in trouble at the time. They were in deep throes of financial recession. The word was going out of business, cannot survive. So he took over as chairman of Chrysler. He liked a fight, and he saved the company. He took over at a time of imminent bankruptcy. He saved the company, convincing Congress to loan money to Chrysler. This was unheard of. To issue $1.5 billion in loans to Chrysler. He turned Chrysler around, increasing sales with the production of fuel-efficient cars and minivans. He brought the minivans into the ballgame, by the way. This man, he had a mind. He thought. He had foresight. He could see. Chrysler then paid back the federal loans with interest 7 years before they were due. He repaid $1.5 billion plus interest 7 years before the loan was due to be paid. Who does that today? Okay? And who did it back then? Nobody, except for Iacocca. And when he paid back the money, he said, "We at Chrysler borrow money the old-fashioned way. We pay it back. We at Chrysler borrow money the old-fashioned way. We pay it back." He passed away this past July at the age of 94. I came across his life in a magazine. I wanted to share it with you. That's the kind of people we had running our businesses back then. It's not the same today. They're working for the business, but more for themselves. What their pension is, how many stock options they're going to have, how rich they're going to be when they retire, how many corporate jets, how many yachts, et cetera, et cetera. It's a different world today. And I think our country, in addition to needing better politicians, better leaders, we need better corporate heads who are not only functioning for the good of their company, but also have in mind, I must function for the good of my country. Which now brings me to the economy may not be as good as it appears. I've been saying we're heading for a recession. I've been saying this ever since Trump became president, especially this past year, and it has not happened. Well, we are told by Donald and a lot of other people, the economy is the best ever. Look at the stock market, the highest ever. Jobs, unemployment is the lowest ever. Well, let's take a look at the facts, okay, and see how good this prosperity we are undergoing is, okay? Lisa Schallert is the Chief Investment Officer of Wealth Management. Chief Investment Officer of Wealth Management. She says she thinks that American investors are wearing rose-colored glasses. American investors are wearing rose-colored glasses. Yeah, normally when you have a strong stock market performance, okay, it's based on a vibrant economy, and robust corporate profits. Now, our stock market is not based on a robust economy and robust corporate profits. Number one, the financial status of the corporations are driven by the federal rate cuts. That big tax cut that the corporations got under Donald Trump, it's still helping them, okay? That's showing them to be profitable when normally they wouldn't be profitable. And also, expectations, very important word, expectations for improvement in the trade problems we're having. The trade problems, especially with China, have to improve. Now, both of these items, the federal tax cuts and expectations, that means something should happen to make things better with the trade war, are not indications of economic growth. They're just indications that something is going to happen. You need historically a strong, robust economy, which is not. Ours is based on sand, she feels, and robust corporate profits, which really aren't true. They're based on the tax cut. Also, she says manufacturing is in recession, which is true. We do read every day, they sneak this into the news, that manufacturing in the United States is in recession. Okay? Corporate profits are in decline. United States stocks, okay, are very expensive today. If you look at this through the eyes of a true economist, the cost of stocks are very expensive in relation to the corporate earnings. Are very expensive in relation to corporate earnings. She says investor optimism is misplaced. Okay? There is a growing wedge between reality and investor expectations. A growing wedge between reality and investor expectations. Economic indicators are worsening, she says. The U.S. consumer may not be as strong as expected, and the labor market could weaken. She also tells us that stock valuations are high. At a time, the odds for disappointment are rising. Stock valuations are high at the time. The odds of disappointment are rising. In other words, the market's going to come down, my friends. She claims, and I happen to believe her, because this is the theory I subscribe to. I'm not an economist, but I'm 84 years old. And when you've been 84 years old, you've lost a lot of money in the market. You've made a lot of money. You've made a lot of investments. You lost a lot of investments. You sort of have an understanding. And I think our economy is vulnerable. Now, there are those, though, okay, that say that Wall Street, and Wall Street is one of these people generally, that see the stock market on verge of a melt-up, not a meltdown. Wall Street says there's going to be a melt-up. Things are going to get even better, okay? And this primarily depends on the type of deal that the United States is making with China at the present time. You know, there's a trade deal. They got to sign it yet, maybe in the next few days. They've come to some sort of an understanding. The deal sucks. Many economists say this deal that Trump has made with China, it sucks, okay? It absolutely sucks. It's done for political expediency. Trump needs to say, because, you know, he always does this. I won. We beat him. See, I got him to sign a new agreement. This one sucks. Something else out there about the economy. The economy we have today is very good for the rich and the wealthy, but not for the everyday person. And I'm going to talk basics now, something that we all understand. Basics. Did you know what's one of the easiest loans to get? You want to buy a new car, you get an auto loan. You want to buy a used car, you get an auto loan. You go to the bank. Auto loans are down. They're being rejected. Not that people aren't applying for them. More people are being rejected for lousy auto loans than in the history in many years here. In October, auto rejection loans, were up by 8.1%. They were turned down 8.1%, more than October in the previous year. Because in October last year, auto loans were up 4.5%. This October, they're down 8.1%. This is based upon the bank saying yes or no. They expect, next year, maybe auto loans will be up 1%. Not a hell of a lot, my friends. Now, that's auto loans. What about mortgages on your house or a mortgage refinancing loan, More and more mortgage and mortgage refinancing applications are being declined, and were declined in 2018, and more today than in 2018. Moody's warns us that what's going to happen is this: the leading standards by which money is loaned to people who want to buy a house, it's going to become what they describe as spotty credit. Spotty credit. In other words, people today can't meet the standards to borrow money that have been in effect since, let's say, 2010, 2011, because the banks had to straighten things out after 2008. They got tough, and then people were able to meet these application requirements. But now, not enough people qualify under existing mortgage standards. So the banks, they can't make money unless they loan money for houses, for example. So what they have to do is reduce the requirements to obtain mortgage monies. And it has been said, and is being said, that in 2020, mortgages are going to be, there are going to be a higher number of mortgages granted because they're going to make it easier to obtain mortgage credit. This is shades of 2008. Let's go back to 2008, the second greatest recession in the history of the United States. Why did it happen? Why? Because the banks went crazy from 2006, 2007. They started loaning money. You could borrow money for anything. The banks didn't care what your credit was, what your security was. They were happy to loan you money because they didn't hang on to those mortgages. They turned around and the term became they bundled them together. And then they sold them into a market where they sold them to somebody else who invested them in a market, became stock trading on bundled mortgage loans from banks where the banks had no guarantee on those type loans from the government. They had no government banking. And so people who couldn't afford the mortgages, they couldn't keep paying them. After a year or two, they started going into foreclosure. The government wasn't there to bail the banks out directly on the mortgages because they didn't guarantee the monies. The banks were taking a beating. The people took a beating. In the end, our government, as it always does, it always bails the banks out. Banks can do no wrong. And the banks survived, and millions of people in this country lost their homes, and it could happen again. I kid you not. Let's go to North Korea. Isn't it wonderful? What has it been, 2 years now that Trump and Kim Jung-un have met on, 2 or 3 occasions? They have become friends. Trump describes it as a love affair. They exchange love letters between each other. One's crazy and the other one is nuts. You have to excuse me. Now, we were supposed to enter into some sort of an agreement with North Korea. We never did. Our people met twice. The last time Kim Jong-un and Trump were going to sign something together. And apparently, as the story goes, Trump at the last minute decided to change some significant terms on the day of the signing. And Kim Jong-un didn't even say goodbye. He left for the airport and went. He was gone. And he's been pissed at Trump. But Trump keeps saying, we're okay, we're having a love affair. Well, in the last year, instead of not developing new missiles that are capable of carrying nuclear warheads long distances, Kim has continued to do that. And he's doing it more and more. This past year alone, in this year, 2019, he has had 13 or 14 test missiles go off. Now, these are not that you're going to send from North Korea to Japan or to South Korea. We're talking about the last 2 missiles tested, and they were tested in the last 2 weeks, had the capability of going from North Korea to the United States. Missiles that had the capability of carrying nuclear warheads. Kim, a couple of days ago said, now look, we're supposed to have had a deal. Nothing's happening. And unless we get the concessions we expect, I am telling you, Donald Trump, you can expect a quote-unquote Christmas gift from North Korea. He doesn't say what that Christmas gift will be. We can only anticipate. But unless I get concessions, there's going to be a Christmas gift. Well, Trump says, I'm not concerned. He says, and I quote, I'd be disappointed. He also says, and I quote, we'll take care of it. We will take care of it. Don't worry about anything. I've got this under control. Well, let me tell you something. Christmas is what? How many days away now? Christmas is 8 days away. Are we going to get a Christmas gift? This Kim Jung-un is crazier than Donald Trump, okay? He's nuts. Trump is nuts. This guy's crazy. We don't know what's going to happen. Something bad could happen. It seems that every time Trump screws somebody, that country turns around and gets close to or closer to Russia than it had been previously. I think Putin is one of the smartest people in the world. He's getting everybody to come his way because every time Donald Trump screws up, he takes advantage of it. And in most instances, without even a bullet being fired. Now, China and Russia, because we got these trade wars going with China. China and Russia have gone to the United Nations. The United Nations has certain sanctions, heavy sanctions, the United Nations itself, on North Korea. And China and Russia together said, we think these sanctions should be removed, or most of them should be removed. Now, the issue has gone to Trump. And the reason being that under United Nations rules, the United States is one vote. We only have one vote, is sufficient to veto any reduction in the sanctions. It's just the way the paperwork goes. We can kill it. And Trump says, this is not the time. I don't know what's going to happen, but the thing why I share this with you is China and Russia, hand in hand, have gone to the United Nations, seeking this reduction. Now, a wild story. This, I didn't know. Maybe you knew. Some things I don't pay attention to. But I also think the media should share news with us other than Donald Trump. All right. Did you know that college enrollments, kids going to college enrollments, are in their 8th year of a decline? Yes, fewer kids are going to college today than were going 8 years ago. Now, this blows my mind what I'm going to share with you. At the same time, these enrollments are significantly down. They're in the millions. At the same time that the enrollments are down, student loans have skyrocketed. Can you imagine? I don't know why, but they've gone way up. Some of the things I want to share along the lines with this story. There are more women than men going to college today. Can't come up with the reason why. They describe the fewer men going to college as stunning. That's the term they use, but they're not sure why yet. Fall of 2011, there were 20.1 million students enrolled in college, 20.1 million. In 2019, this year, this past month, there are only 17.9 million students enrolled, okay? That is a 10.8% reduction, or 2.17 million students less than in 2011. Now this blows me out again. During the same time, student loans since 2011 have surged 74%. Where the hell's this money going? Have surged 74%, from $940 billion to $1.64 trillion. Student loans, trillion-dollar numbers. Anything with trillion-dollar numbers is really big time. Where did this money go? Why did it have to be spent to that extent when fewer kids were making application for the monies? The colleges taking the worst beatings are the for-profit colleges. Not all colleges are state universities. You got the Harvard Yales where you got to pay your way. They're down. They're down in enrollment by 56%, okay? In the year 2010, the for-profit colleges had 1.6 million students, 1.6 million students. The for-profit colleges today have 750,000 students. Wild, absolutely wild. Again, more men and more women than men. Enrollment since 2011 for men is down 13%. Women are up 9.4%. What are the reasons for this? One reason is given that there are fewer people going to college, whether men or women, because you went to college because the college degree meant that over the course of your lifetime, you were going to earn more money than those without a college degree, that you would have better jobs, that you would have a better way of life, that you could provide for your families better. Not the case today. These kids coming out with college degrees can't get jobs after spending all this money, incurring $50,000, $150,000 in student loans. They can't get a decent job. Many end up at McDonald's and Popeyes working, okay? All right? And most of them have these loans. 99% of them have these student loans to repay. How can they repay these student loans? They're not making the money. They don't have the capacity to do it. They thought they could if they had a college degree. So that is the story there. Very interesting what I'm going to share with you now. And this will be the last story of the evening. And I didn't know this either. More Americans are dying at home today rather than in hospitals. I repeat, more Americans today are dying at home rather than in hospitals. This is the first time this has happened since the early 1900s. Now, the trend reflects more hospice care, all right, and progress towards the kind of end that most people say they want. They want to die at home in their own beds. Deaths in nursing homes is also declining. It brings a sort of quality to death. Betsy McNair, Belhaven, Virginia, her father, Robert, was 83. He died at home. 6 weeks after learning he had lung cancer, he died at home. And she said, and I quote, she and her family, "I made him exactly what he wanted to eat whenever he wanted it. He had a scotch every night. He had a very high quality of life. If he woke at 2 o'clock in the morning and wanted to have coffee and pie, that's what we did." And that's the way the trend is going. And God bless those who have family who can care for them in their last moments. Well, that's the show for this week. I hope you enjoyed. I tried to bring things to your attention that you may not be aware of, and I was not aware of till I came across it somewhere. And I'll be looking for more of those things as time goes on. We are in trouble in this country. This impeachment thing is difficult. I doubt he will be actually impeached and forced out of office because the Senate Republicans will vote to keep him in. I'm not saying whether that is right or wrong. I'm just saying, but I think this process is right to have taken place so far. You got to call the man. He's doing wrong all the time. You got to say, Donald, you can't do this. And if you do, we're going to try to get you, even if we don't. We know we can't. He is ruining our country. He is ruining what we know as democracy. It's not going to be the same tomorrow for people in this country if he continues in office, if he gets reelected in 2020. Time to leave the United States if he gets reelected. I'm serious when I say that. I'm 84. I may be dead next year. But it's going to be a tough place to live if he stays in office. I do a blog every morning, keywestlou.com. Please read it. It'll take you all of 2 or 3 minutes to read it. It's like, if you like this show, you'll like my blog. If you don't like this show, don't read my blog. But keywestlou.com, it's done every day. It's archived if you miss it on a particular day. Read it a few times. Read it 3 or 4 days. If you like it, keep reading it. I honestly believe you will enjoy it. So, our show is ended. Thank you for joining me. This is Louis Patrone signing off.